On the 23rd of April 2024, Sunshine Coast Council convened a group of interested stakeholders, key Kiwanis Sports Precinct tenants, and a number of councillors to a session at the Sunshine Coast Stadium to hear about the proposed indoor sports centre at the Kiwanis Sports Precinct. Whilst the process for South East Queensland attracting the Olympic and Paralympic Games commenced in 2015, this slide shows some key dates in respect to the indoor sports centre. In particular, you can see 10th of June 2021 was when the Olympic and Paralympic Games were awarded to Brisbane 2032. Some works were undertaken and the Kiwana location for the Sunshine Coast Indoor Sports Centre was endorsed in February 2023 and the intergovernmental agreement signed on the 17th of February 2023. Going through to recently 18th of March 2024, where the findings of the 60-day review were completed, which is commonly known as the Quirk Review, and the 3 Sunshine Coast Council venues were endorsed for investment. The $7.1 billion intergovernment agreement was signed on the 17th of February 2023. The third dot point there is relevant to the Sunshine Coast venues, in that those venues for the Sunshine Coast region will be included in that $1.87 billion investment by the state and federal governments. All projects are subject to significant project validation work. The link for the intergovernmental agreement can be found on that 5th dot point there. Important to note that no further funding for games or non-games infrastructure or programs to this date has been announced. Within that intergovernmental agreement, there are a number of factors that need to be considered. In particular, there's a strong sporting focus in that all projects need to align with the current National Sports Plan Sport 2030, and there also is a strong focus on making sure that all venues can include persons with a disability. The key motivation for some time for Sunshine Coast Council to attract an indoor sport for the 2032 Olympic and Paralympic Games was to address the significant and chronic shortfall of indoor courts on the Sunshine Coast. As can be seen by this slide, by 2031 we'll have a shortfall of 18 indoor courts. This provides a unique opportunity for Council to receive funding from the state and federal government to meet this need. At present, Sunshine Coast has only 7 council indoor courts compared to a Gold Coast City Council, which has 27 council-owned indoor courts. They've been extremely successful with over 94% usage since the Commonwealth Games in 2018. For this reason, the original SEQ 2032 Games Master Plan put forward the concept of active community hubs, facilities that could support multiple needs of Queensland rapidly growing communities and inspire the next generation of athletes. As can be seen from that slide, there are a number of requirements for an active community hub, being 8 to 12 multi-purpose courts that could also convert to a minimum 6,000 seat show court. There's commentary on this slide regarding the building footprint and what is required within an active community hub. Also note that it is advantageous to coincide this with sports fields. The baseline for the Sunshine Coast Indoor Sports Centre as an active community hub is the Coomera Indoor Sports Centre. This slide shows the image of the Coomera Indoor Sports Centre that was developed for the Gold Coast 2018 Commonwealth Games. There are a variety of requirements that are required to be met to be able to host an Olympic and Paralympic Games. Preferably the competition venue should be within 20 minutes of the athlete village, which will be in Maroochydore CBD. Spatial allocations, significant overlay requirement, at least 18,000 square metres required for items such as a broadcast compound, operational compounds, and spectator holding, screening and plaza. The venue should have good public transport links, good connectivity to a major arterial road network. Importantly, it needs to fit within the budget provided through the intergovernmental agreement. Program timing is important. Early works are needed to be undertaken, enabling the infrastructure in place, and preferably the land should be owned by Council. With this in mind, Council investigated a number of venues, including the Kiwanis Sports Precinct, Maroochydore City Centre, Maroochydore Depot site at Wisers Road, Elizabeth Daniels Reserve, the Maroochydore Football Club at Cunda Park, the Delabar Road, Western Fields, Nambour Showgrounds, and the Maroochydore Multisports Complex. Based on that criteria that need to be met, the 2 that were put forward for further investigation were the Kiwanis Sports Precinct and Maroochydore City Centre. The other sites on this list did not meet the requirements to be able to host an Olympic and Paralympic Games. With that in mind, in the Future Host Questionnaire, which is essentially the bid document went to the ISC, Kiwana was listed as the preferred site for the Indoor Sports Centre. However, reference was made to investigating the planned Sunshine Coast Exhibition and Convention Centre in the Maroochydore City Centre. as the venue for the basketball preliminaries. For the Kiwana Sports Precinct and Maroochydore City Centre sites, a multi-criteria site analysis was undertaken, where input was provided by some key games delivery partners to identify the appropriateness of these sites. Within that, the building footprint was considered, along with the broadcast compound, operational compounds, spectator holding, screening and plaza, and also the ability to be able to meet the requirements for anti-terrorism, security and exclusion zones. This slide shows the outcomes of that multi-criteria analysis, where the factors around program timing, Olympic overlay, destination appeal, budget, and overarching legacy were considered in the assessment of the two sites. The key findings from the multi-criteria analysis are as follows. The Maroochydore City Centre will not be able to accommodate the Olympic Games overlay. The size does not meet the overall requirements. There is a significantly high capital cost and a shortfall of circa $200 million, which is not funded. This facility has significantly high ongoing operational costs, and there is no business case for an arena entertainment centre concept as proposed, and the overall functionality of the exhibition and convention centre planned for this site could be compromised. The Kiwana Sports Precinct, however, does meet the requirements for Olympic Games overlay. There is an alignment with budget allocation identified in the Future Host questionnaire. The analysis did, however, identify and recognise that there would be a displacement of an existing tenant from the Kiwana Sports Precinct. This would need to be closely considered and engagement with the impacted clubs undertaken. On the 1st of February 2023, it was announced publicly that the Olympic Games preliminary basketball would be hosted at the Kiwana Sports Precinct. Prior to the awarding of the 2032 Games to Brisbane, Council commenced conversations with the Kiwana Sports Precinct tenants, including the Kiwana Rugby League Club, both seniors and juniors, Sunshine Coast Falcons, Brothers Rugby and Sunshine Coast Rugby. These conversations were ongoing, and in November 2022, Council again met with the tenants, confirming Kiwana as a site for the indoor sports centre. Both Brothers and Dolphins visited Merredin Fields as a proposed venue for their relocation. As a result of these tours and conversations, Brothers Rugby expressed a desire to stay at Kiwana Sports Precinct. And given the challenges with expanding numbers of teams in both juniors and females, limited field space and ongoing disruption at Kiwana Sports Precinct, Kiwana Juniors expressed acceptance of the relocation of the move to Merredin Fields. Both juniors and seniors committed to investigating this option further. They established a relocation moving committee, and since this time have been working through concept designs for embellishments at Merredin Fields. Over the past 12 months, Sunshine Coast Council officers have been working closely with the Kiwana Dolphins in respect to those upgrades at Merredin Fields that would be required for them to not only survive, but to thrive and grow. This includes consideration of the reconfiguration and upgrade of grounds, fields 1 and 2 to be upgraded with irrigation and subsoil drainage. All fields will be renovated to ensure they are to a high standard. The installation uplift in field lighting, upgrades and modifications to the clubhouse with a club room, social club extension. Other modifications to clubhouse being made to include spaces such as first aid room and storeroom. The club will move from having 4 change rooms at Kiwana to having 6 change rooms at Merredin Fields. Installation of a variety of activities such as 3-bay shed, ticket box, timekeeper box, 2-storey players boxes with coaches boxes and scoreboards. The Dolphins have also requested improved access to parking bays adjacent to the rugby fields if entering the site from the north at Red Cedar Drive, and Council to assist with field maintenance in the first 2 seasons before the club converts to Council Sports Field Maintenance Funding Program. These items are currently being finalised with the Kiwana Dolphins with an intention to present to Council at the upcoming 24-25 Capital Works budget process. This slide shows the extensive process that Council has been through with funding partners and able to get the project to this date for the Indoor Sports Centre. On completion of the PVRs, projects were subject to a Queensland Treasury Gateway Review Assurance process. This employs a small team of independent experts to examine major programs or projects at key decision points. Gateway panels approved both the Sunshine Coast Stadium and Sunshine Coast Indoor Sports Centre projects. There has been an alternative proposal put forward by a community group suggesting that a 2032 competition venue be delivered in Maroochydore City Centre and improve sports facilities at Elizabeth Daniels, Noosa and Caloundra. This option has been investigated and does not fit within the funding envelope provided by the state and federal governments. The proposal also includes a relocation of the Maroochydore Cricket Club to land recently acquired by Council north of the Maroochydore River. This site won't be available for sporting use until 2034 at the earliest. In addition, the Elizabeth Daniel site has got some issues and is constrained. It is a former landfill site with significant subsurface issues. There's only one access egress point through Sid Lingard Drive, and TMR have indicated they have concerns with traffic management in this area. In conclusion, there are a number of opportunities and risks associated if the project doesn't proceed at this point in time as planned and was announced in February 2023. Any removal or rescope of the indoor stadium will require a rescope of the outdoor stadium as well, as both are intrinsically linked and designed to complement each other. Services such as the plaza, pedestrian links, gyms and cafe. Any delays will have impacts for users and cost implications. There is a potential loss of funding from the federal and state governments. There will be cost escalations if the project is delayed. This project for the Sunshine Coast Stadium is planned to commence in May 2024 and for the indoor centre in June 2024. Council would be required to fund indoor community sports facilities to meet that shortfall without this unique opportunity of significant external funding, which of course impacts on the user groups within the Sunshine Coast region, such as basketball, volleyball and parasports. Limited opportunities to attract large mass participation community sports events and elite sporting contact. There's limited growth opportunity for Kiwana Dolphins. They're currently at 2 fields and there is no future opportunity for expansion. The opportunity would be lost to reduce the lighting impacts. 6 field light towers were removed from the Kiwana Sports Precinct. Significant economic impact associated with the indoor sports centre in terms of both short and long-term jobs. And it should also be noted that Council remains committed to projects such as passenger rail to Maroochydore and the Sunshine Coast Exhibition and Convention Centre. These projects, however, cannot be funded through the intergovernmental agreement associated with the Olympics and Paralympic Games for 2032.